Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Now, just over a fortnight before he takes charge at the White House, Donald Trump has taken aim at America's 17 intelligence agencies on his medium of choice, Twitter. The president-elect disputed their claims that Russia was behind a series of cyber attacks during the presidential election. Instead, he appeared to choose to side with WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange. That's despite declaring in 2010 that WikiLeaks' publication of leaked US diplomatic cables was disgraceful and warranted the death penalty. Last week, President Obama expelled 35 Russian diplomats from the United States in response to the alleged cyber attacks. But in an interview on Fox News with Sean Hannity, one of Trump's biggest media supporters, Julian Assange claimed the move was designed to delegitimize the election of Donald Trump and declared once again that Russia did not provide the hacked information which his organization published.
We can say, we have said repeatedly over the last 2 months that our source is not the Russian government and it is not a state party.
Julian Assange, who says he is concerned about being extradited to the United States, once found little sympathy in the Republican Party. He's leaked American military secrets from Iraq, published cables which revealed diplomatic sources, and has been holed up in the Ecuadorian embassy for 5 years, battling extradition to Sweden on accusations of sexual offences. But Assange has received another show of support from President-elect Donald Trump. In a tweet this morning, Trump wrote, Julian Assange said a 14-year-old could have hacked Podesta, a reference to Hillary Clinton's campaign manager, and that the Russians did not give him the info. This follows a tweet last night in which Trump claimed an intelligence briefing he was due to receive on the issue had been delayed. Perhaps more time needed to build a case. Very strange, he wrote. However, today, US intelligence officials insisted there had been no delay in the briefing schedule, which he will receive on Friday. Well, the US ambassador to London, Matthew Barzan, will be leaving these shores this month before the Trump administration takes charge. I went to talk to him at his residence in London's Regent's Park. Now, sort of amazing things have happened in here, haven't they?
This is true.
What's the greatest rock group that you've had here? I know it'll be one of your obsessions, won't it?
I don't do favorites.
Well, you've had some diplomatic moments there too, haven't you?
We did. We had one of my bosses, Secretary Kerry, and his opposite number from Russia, Sergei Lavrov, were out there kicking around the soccer ball.
You mean Lavrov and Kerry were playing football whilst assaulting each other at the table?
Playing is a strong word, but they strolled around back there talking and engaging and trying to make progress.
Right, can we go in?
Yeah, let's go.
Show me your record collection, because that's really what you're passionate about. Where did you get your love of it?
Well, from early days, I grew up in a small town outside of Boston, and there weren't a lot of stores, and there certainly weren't concert venues, so just the radio.
But you're a man of the digital age. Why vinyl?
Well, I love vinyl. It lets people, when they come to this house, it can be a little bit formal, and some people, we've had 36,000
this loosens the drapes.
House. It just gets people loosened up, and then they have a role to play.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Here's Space Oddity. Sounds pretty good.
Fantastic. I little thought I would ever stand next to the American ambassador listening to Bowie. Wow. The ambassador arrived in London in 2013. He's been the top US diplomat here through the most turbulent political times in a generation. Is the world a more dangerous place than when you arrived here 3.5 years ago?
No. I think sometimes we can lose sight of the fact that with media and the immediacy of news being able to come right onto your phone 24 hours a day, that we are much more aware of bad news happening everywhere. We can get each other whipped up into getting very, very scared. And I think that's important that we not freak out and that we not pull back. It's okay to have an instinctive thing like that, with bad news around the world, but we need to engage with the world to deal with the very real problems about Russian aggression, and that's what President Obama has done.
But Syria has been the most terrible failure for the Western powers.
It's a heartbreaking situation. And yes, and President Obama himself says that remains a real, something he wishes he could have made more significant headway on. And I think it's important to note that we have been very engaged from the very beginning. We've been very involved diplomatically, trying to get to a political, not a military solution to the civil war that is devastating that country.
But failing.
Yeah, as yet, but we're going to keep trying. And we're not giving up, and we're not pulling back. On the military front, President Obama didn't, with some hard-learned lessons about lessons we've learned from previous attempts, look, we are not going to go do a massive ground invasion and take over another country while you have the Assad regime propped up by not only Russia, but Iran, and willing to do, as we've seen, with horrific consequences, anything to support them.
That's a we that includes Obama. What about a we that includes Trump?
Well, look, we have one president at a time, so my job is to represent this administration and not the next one.
We've lived 6 months now since the Brexit vote. Has the relationship between Britain and America changed in any way?
I think it remains absolutely strong and absolutely vital.
But have they been calling you in for new directions and saying, now we're going to start looking your way in a way we've never looked before?
Well, I mean,
not yet.
Well, look, I mean, certainly it was a momentous decision. So certainly we care greatly, which is why we spoke up about it before it happened and why we continued to engage in this in-between time, post-referendum.
Do they see you basically as anti-Brexit, and therefore let's wait for the next guy?
Who's the they in your question?
The British government.
Oh, no. I think there's a wonderful tradition of, on both sides of the Atlantic, of engaging with the current administration, and then we peacefully do our handover of power in a couple of weeks.
We're worried about the future, very worried, because America has produced something we've never seen before.
Well, look, it is
Trump.
true that we had I mean, certainly in my lifetime, John, I'm not sure about yours, the biggest political upset in American political history we have just gone through, full stop. So I think we have to emphasize that, yes, we just did something very unusual, which was we've never in our history elected someone who's had no public office experience before. So that is an unknown and creates uncertainty. I get that. And at the same time, I think it's important for our British friends to recognize that the American electorate in our system has been really closely divided elections for a long time.
But diplomacy by tweet, the sort of threats, the language, the intemperance.
Well, look, I think we're in this in-between time, post-election, pre-administration, and I think we just have to acknowledge that. And I think there's a difference between the rhetoric and the behaviors and the patterns of campaigning. And then once you get into governing and you build out your team, reality has a way of asserting itself. You learn more as an administration, doing the actual work and being responsible for those things. So I think we should let that happen. President Obama has done everything he can to encourage me and everyone on his team to make this peaceful transfer of power as smooth as possible.
I think I'm looking at an optimist.
I'll take it.
Ambassador, thank you for talking to us.
Thank you for having me.
Now, putting yourself on a collision course with your own intelligence agencies before you've even become president may seem a strange thing to do, but then, as we've said many times, strange is the new normal for Donald Trump and perhaps for the rest of us too. Today, 2 days before the security services brief him on those claims that Russian hackers swung the election his way, Mr. Trump made clear again he doesn't believe it. In other words, them.
The most powerful military on earth bid farewell to its commander-in-chief today. For President Obama, the coming fortnight will be filled with duties like this. But as he prepares to leave office, the focus is shifting to what happens next, and there's growing concern at the direction this country might take. America's intelligence agencies are unanimous in the view that Russia interfered with the US election process by hacking into the computers of the Clinton campaign. A full report will be put before Congress and the White House by the end of this week. Donald Trump will get it too, but he's already cast doubt on its findings and mocked its authors. The intelligence briefing on so-called Russian hacking, he said on Twitter, with heavy use of parenthesis, was delayed until Friday. Perhaps more time needed to build a case. Very strange.
Our source is not the Russian government.
Rather than listen to his own security experts, Trump is citing the evidence of Julian Assange, a man he once said deserved to die for leaking American secrets. That opinion, like so much, appears to have changed.
I think given some of the intelligence failures of recent years, the President-elect's made it clear to the American people that he's skeptical about conclusions from the bureaucracy, and I think the American people hear him loud and clear.
But many here see this as the start of a major global realignment. Former CIA agent Evan McMullen stood for the presidency as an anti-Trump candidate. He says what's happening should strike fear across America and beyond.
It's absolutely incredible that we have an American president-elect. He'll be the president in just a couple of weeks, aligning with a foreign adversary that is attacking the very system of government that we have to ensure our rights, our basic rights as Americans. So this is truly troubling. We cannot be desensitized to it here, and I would offer that we cannot be desensitized to it in Europe and elsewhere too.
With so much uncertainty, all we know for sure is that the next presidency will be radically different from the last. Martin Geisler, News at 10, Washington.
You can say that again. An extraordinary story in its own way.
I've been